Alrighty everyone, we are now just a couple of days out from The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 3 that's going to be a big deal. We know that everything related to Jon and Dave's approach to the Mandoverse right now, it's all about really taking key aspects from Star Wars Legends and throwing it into the Disney canon as best as possible. If you guys actually looked very closely throughout the first 2 episodes of Season 3, there are a couple of Easter eggs and little tiny references here and there to Legends spotted throughout the show. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that Mando 4 and the Ahsoka Tano series are really going to be the true destinations of reviving Legends in a more direct and obvious way toward the fandom, instead of just being Easter eggs and stuff around those lines, we also have Disney on the other end of things, really handling a very big thing that's involving Kathleen Kennedy. Now, as you all know, there is a big plan to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy by this August, and to officially fire her and replace her with somebody else. We talked about how producer Dana Brunetti is at the top of the list. He is the guy, he's the top candidate right now, that rose above both, of course, you know, people like David Heyman and others out there that were on the list as well in the roundup of candidates for taking over Lucasfilm. Now that brings us to the latest, though, when it comes to the latest big plan that they have to fire Kathleen Kennedy, and why it's kind of causing a bit of a shakeup behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm between the board members. So let's dive into each and every aspect of what's really going on and exactly what it really means for Kathleen Kennedy's future at Lucasfilm. So, on top of all of this, now that many Star Wars projects are in the works at once by Jon and Dave, they are beginning to prepare to make some big announcements at Celebration next month and at D23. Further, it's noted that Disney and its executives are developing a new plan to fire Kathleen Kennedy from Lucasfilm, and that it's currently a big struggle between certain executives. Around half of the Disney higher-ups are pushing for Bob Iger's original idea to be the way of firing Kennedy from the company, in that they want to mask it as if she is stepping down voluntarily and are dubbing this as a silent firing. Right now, many Disney executives are planning to fire her the first half of August, and that Disney is upping her severance deal to around $30 million. That's currently being revised. So in case you guys had no idea, her severance deal was projected to be around $25 to $30 million. It's ending up that she's going to be getting 30 and change. That's insane. I don't know why anybody would want to give that away to somebody like that ruined a company like Disney's image of how they handle Star Wars and such. But hey, I mean, you know what? They gotta do what they gotta do, I guess. But that severance deal, I think, is uncalled for. That's just my 2 cents. Other Disney board members are totally against this idea of covering up her firing as her stepping down, because they feel that that's very misleading to the people, and also of how Disney operates as a company. But Disney wants to move ahead with this plan, as it would save them endless headlines as they view Kennedy's firing as defeat, and don't really want to admit that to the media outlets. So let me just stop here quick. So that is their motive, alright? A lot of the executives' motives are that they want to keep the headlines at bay from the media outlets, because they feel that once Kennedy leaves, once she gets fired, you know everyone's going to be very happy. You know a lot of fans are going to be very much relieved to know that somebody that caused such a division within the fandom, such as with the film The Last Jedi, is going to be gone. So they're trying to prevent headlines from that appearing on media outlets that she was quote-unquote fired, and so they're calling for a silent firing, where they're going to try to mask it or cover it up as her stepping down voluntarily. However, the flip side to this, and there's always a silver lining when there's a cloud present, is that the other half of the Disney executives, the ones that are more loyal to George, Jon, and Dave's overall outlook on Star Wars, they are actually calling for something else that I think is an even better idea, and something that looks like it might be the way it's gonna go, because now Bob Iger is seemingly leaning toward this scenario instead of his original plan. So let's dive into exactly what they are actually trying to push for Kathleen Kennedy's departure. So, the board that's more respectful to George, John, and Dave are not so loyal, of course, to Kathleen Kennedy and have a better plan in that they want Kennedy to announce it herself that she has a replacement ready before she is let go from Lucasfilm, and that this is something that Iger is leaning towards as well. Right now it's a shakeup over at Disney headquarters as to how they want to handle her firing and her replacement, and that they have until May of this year to make a final decision of which way they are planning to officially go for Kennedy's departure at Lucasfilm. Now, be aware, we talked about this too, is that Dana Brunetti is the top candidate right now. This is the guy, by the way. I know I said this before, but let's just elaborate real quick. The reason why he's a great pick is that this guy actually, believe it or not, produced a movie back in 2009 that was a dedication, a love letter, if you will, to Star Wars fans out there. It's a comedy, it may not be the best one out there, but regardless, you have a movie that does exist that is literally a love letter to fans. It's called Fanboys 2009, look it up. But apart from Dana Brunetti, they've also been giving George Lucas, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni many privileges over at Lucasfilm, and taking over specific departments very slowly but surely. They're getting there. They also have a plan all in the works to make George the head of the story group by 2024. So there's a lot of change happening. A lot of employees are getting switched out over at Lucasfilm and replaced with others to kind of just really clean up house and to really kind of just give fans a new taste of atmosphere when it comes to how Lucasfilm respects and handles the franchise. So when you look at people like the Disney executives, there's always some kind of shakeup. In fact, there's a shakeup right now in the general sense of how Disney operates as a company. But now you have one over how Kathleen Kennedy is going to be fired. Alright, how they're going to go about doing this, how it's going to be executed, what they're going to say about it, all these different things. They're pre-planning right now as we speak, and as long as Dana Brunetti is on board and at the top of the list, they have somebody that's, you know, hot and ready to go and replace Kathleen Kennedy as soon as possible. So I think that they really do have a very good plan, at least on the other end of the spectrum, where they want to have Kathleen Kennedy announce herself that she's leaving and that she's getting replaced and that she's getting a new replacement in order to kind of just let everybody know out there that it is happening. So I think that at the end of the day, given that Kennedy is still secretly creating her own production company, it's currently dubbed simply as Starlight Productions. We talked about this. It's going to be all sci-fi stuff, and it's going to be a competitor against Dune, Star Wars, and Star Trek specifically. And you would think that you would want to fire someone like right now just for doing that by creating a competitor against the brand that you're already hired with is ludicrous to me. You know, it really is. It's insanity. So anyways, a lot of great things are coming out of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No hiding on one. From night to moon, we hear them moans again.